Hey YouTubers, this is the Computer Geek 01010101 here. Before we begin the video, just gotta let you know, sorry about the unexpected cutoff at the end. A family emergency arose, and I had to head up to my grandma's house. Therefore, I was unable to complete the video, and I probably won't be able to complete it for a while since I have a ton of VHS tapes to digitize. You can probably hear one in the background right now. Well, with that out of the way, let's begin the video. This is the Computer Geek 01010101 here, and today we are going to be taking a look at my video capture computer. This computer is an HP Pavilion m7480n computer built somewhere around 2006. This computer, when I got it, was totally lifeless. All it ever did was just spin its fans and put out no video. This computer originally belonged to my grandma when new. And this computer was very heavily used. The computer was retired in the early 2010s whenever it stopped working correctly. The computer was just simply put on a shelf with its monitor. The computer and its monitor was just simply put on a tiny little shelf and kept there for several years. About 3 years ago, I got the computer. 2 or 3 years ago, I got the computer. Whenever I plugged it in and turned it on, it did not put out any video. I tried again. This time, I got limited success. The video was pretty... I think I got garbled video at best. And it was complete... you couldn't understand any of it. It was totally garbled. So, I shut it down, tried yet again, and this time, I actually got usable video. So, I shut it down, and I open it up. And the thing is insanely filthy. And I mean, filthy. Dust was caked on literally every part of this computer. Whenever I did the first thorough cleaning of this thing, I think I was at it for a good 45 plus minutes cleaning up this computer. Now this computer was like a top of the line computer for its time. This thing was literally worth about two grand new. I kid you not. Now, the side really doesn't give any indication. But look at the back. Yeah, get a good look at that. I did not add any of these expansion cards. I mean, this is what you would have gotten in 2006 for $2 grand. PS2 ports, digital, optical, digital. Let me look at that real quick. Digital audio in and out, a 25-pin parallel port, 4 USB 2.0 ports, Firewire 800, Gigabit Ethernet, 5.1 channel surround sound, a basic VGA card with a 15-pin VGA connector, a 9-pin S-video / component connector, and component out. No audio. You also would have received a 56K fax / dial-up modem, but I removed it since it was no longer needed, thus just leaving an open expansion card slot. You would have also received a built-in wireless card, the third item down, and the last one is a capture card / TV tuner. Yep. The first connector here, right audio channel, left audio channel, video in, S video in, and then analog TV only. This was made at a time when you only had analog TV was still pretty much the de facto standard in TV tuning. Analog TV. And believe it or not, this card actually has an FM radio. FM tuner. So this was obviously a pretty high-end machine. But those features come at a cost. This thing is so heavy. I mean, look at how much this table bends whenever I set it down. Yeah. Thing's a good 40-50 pounds. And all of its features packed into such a tiny case. I think it's a mini ATX case, or micro ATX case, if I remember correctly. Yeah, all of these features packed into such a tiny case come at a cost. And that cost is, it's a pain to work on. Let me show you this. Take these thumb screws off. Those thumb screws, just like my Pavilion A1000Y. Must have been very infamous for this cover. Jeez. That's cramped. That is very cramped. That is extraordinarily, ridiculously cramped. And look at the cover here. You're probably not able to see it because auto white balance is off. Because auto white balance is set such that the camera cannot easily detect this. But this entire cover, like here and all the way up here, right across the top of the cover where it meets this, that's all nicotine residue, I kid you not. This computer was smoked around 6. Yeah, this computer was used about 6 years before it was retired. and it was smoked around its whole, and for all 6 of those years. So you can imagine what a toll it would have what a toll it took on the machine. Oh yes, it really did take a toll on the computer. This thing smelled horrendous when I got it. Like, I mean, it's been I've had this thing 2 years, and there's still a small bit of smell in here. At least this thing is in a heck of a lot better cosmetic condition than my A1000Y. But yeah, this thing is in a pretty rough shape on the inside, kind of. But I mean, let me take this connector off. Now, the A1000Y was never smoked around. And that was kind of a... And that's what the A1001 is going for. It was never smoked around. So you can imagine the computer is in a pretty clean state. But look at this. You know, get a good look at this. You know, what? And go, move the tripod. Focus. But look at this. And if you want something to compare that against, here's some screw diagrams for my Toshiba Tecra A2 laptop. But see how yellow that cable is? Yeah. And look at how yellow the Molex connector is. Yeah. That's how bad it is. And in the cables and connectors in my Pavilion A1000Y are about the same color as this. So yeah. I mean, there's no getting it out of these cables. And it also gets very hot in this case. Like, I mean, this thing puts out pretty decent heat when it's running. After it's been running a little bit. Like, I mean, the last major use of this thing was back in December on New Year's Day. New Year's Eve, actually, whenever I did video capture. I was digitizing some old video 8 tapes for my computer teacher. And, as you can imagine, it got very hot in my room. My main computer... I was playing Mind Test on my main computer, and I was also running the video capture, and I was also running my TV and the VCR. Yeah. So, I mean, my room, I think it got up to about 92 or 94 degrees, I kid you not. And my computer, the inside of my computer chassis, it was blazing along at a whopping 100... It was blazing along at about a whopping 105 degrees. I kid you not. Yeah. But, if you're wondering what this thing is about, well, I'm going to show you. Meanwhile, I'm just going to attach the cover a little bit more presentable. And show you the front. This computer, for 2006, you would get a a dual-core Intel Pentium D processor. Intel's VIIV technology. You'll get 2 gigs of memory, 300 gig hard drive, and an NVIDIA GeForce 7300 LE graphics card, and your basic wireless keyboard and gigabit Ethernet. This computer is also equipped with the optional personal media drive bay. This thing. It's literally just hard driving inside of an enclosure, and that hard drive interfaces with the computer via USB Type 2, which is that USB looking thing by the power jack whenever I took that connector off, and standard 12 volts DC provided by the power supply. Unfortunately, the filtering capacitor broke off a heck of a long time ago, so I haven't had that thing connected in about a year and a half, closer to 2 years now. In fact, I've had this computer nearly 3 years. But yeah, you would just insert it in here, shut the cover, and then put your stuff on it. This computer was also equipped with an HP PhotoSmart R series dock. Don't know what the significance of that was, but okay. I mean, there's a little cover here. It just pulls up. And I don't know if HP intended for it to be this way or not, but this is the perfect size to hold an optical disc. Not in a jewel case or anything, but just an optical disc. I mean, it's the perfect size. I don't know if HP intended for that to be like that or not, but it sure works. Actually used it as such for a long time. Yeah. This thing is super filthy right now, especially right in here. And I need to clean that up. But yeah, this computer is equipped with the optional HP Personal Media Drive Bay. And then you have more inputs. I kid you not. You have S-Video 2, Composite and Audio Video 2, Composite Video and Audio 2, another FireWire 800 port, headphone out, line it, microphone in, and 2 more USB 2.0 ports. Yeah, you sure do get a bevy of ports on this thing. Let me count these. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 36 user-accessible ports. 36 user-accessible ports. Holy heck. Well, like, I mean, yeah. But I know you've been waiting long enough, so let's disassemble it. If I can get the cover off. But yeah. And you know how I said this is hard to service? I'm about to show you. Just to replace the internal hard drive, firstly, you need to take this off. Shut the cover. And then just like the A1000 Li, remove the front panel. And this thing is a hassle. You have to pull up from here while it's pushing in 3 tabs by pulling them to you. Then you gotta very carefully lift up and not break this off. You need to unscrew this the 2 screws that would go here and here. Then you can set the computer back upright. Then you need to take this off. Wow. Then you need to disconnect the hard drive. And then pull this and push. And then pull this while pulling the green thing out. Sometimes you might need a... Alright, it's very hard to get out. There. This power button thing is broken. That was a nightmare. But yeah, that's just to gain access to the hard drive, which is a Western Digital WD-3200, and the fact that it's a Western Digital is probably the only reason this drive still runs to this day. You also need to do the same procedure to gain access to other major components of the computer, such as RAM. Yeah. Good, glorious look at this. Yeah. And the 24-pin motherboard ATX connector. Yeah, I think that's a 24-pin. Yeah. You also need to do that same procedure just to gain access to your 2 IDE channels here, and for the SATA ports. Yeah. And to replace it. And now I'm going to go ahead and pull out the power supply. Very hard squeezing a finger in between the RAM and a little locking tab on the ATX connector. You then need to disconnect your optical drives, disconnect the CPU, and then remove the 4 screws that hold the power supply in place. And then very carefully push the power supply back, then pull it out like this and lift out. Being careful to not crush the IDE cable connecting your 2 optical drives. Now, Now, look right here. You see this little dark patch right there? That's also nicotine residue. This entire part right in here is all coated with nicotine residue. Yeah. And then you can actually go about removing your optical drives. First, and to do that, first remove the IDE cable from the optical drives. Then this green tab, it's kind of broken in this case, but you need to lift this up. You just push the unit right on out. Now this here is a DVD writer model TS-H652. Generic, but again, like the A1000Y's optical drive, it was designed by Toshiba Samsung Storage Technology. Now look around the edges of the label. You know how they're all yellowed and stuff? You guessed it, nicotine residue. And it's the same for the second optical drive. Except this time, the second optical drive is a Philips. And this thing wasn't affected by the nicotine residue as much, but the warranty seal thing is still yellowed, and this is kind of yellowed too. Then you can just pull the remove the cable from the motherboard. Yeah, it's so cramped in its regular configuration. Yeah, it's a pretty beat up looking cable. Yeah. I mean, this computer has 4 SATA ports in 2006. Yeah. Disconnect the fans. And now to remove the expansion cards. Unlike the A1000Y, the expansion cards are not held in via a retention bracket. Nope, they're held in with just typical screws. This is the video card. This next one is the wireless card. And finally, this last one is the monstrosity of a tuner card. And then this connector comes from the front panel. Yeah. Get a good look at this card. Absolutely massive. And it's a Hopeg computer works WinTV-PVR-150. It supports the NTSC and NTSC-J video modes. And let me show you the video card. This is another example of what can happen if you smoke around a computer for such a very long time. See the fan? Yeah, this is all nicotine residue. And it also, in the heat and everything that was unable to exit the computer because everything was clogged with nicotine residue, also destroyed this capacitor. And I have had problems with that capacitor. I have had that capacitor cause problems. Like, I go to start the computer up and it just throws a bunch of garbled video at me. So I have to shut it down and start it back up. Go ahead and disconnect everything. And here's the first RAM stick. Logo there. Can't recognize it. Yeah. It is a 2 gigs, 1 gigabyte stick of RAM. It is DDR2 it is DDR2. Focus. Okay. And it's the exact same thing for the other stick of RAM. Now, believe it or not, I actually used this computer as my main computer for a while. It was back in 2015, a little bit after Microsoft had EOL'd Windows XP. Yeah, quite surprising, right? Yeah. And here's a better look at that connector. Here's the USB thing. Yeah, see, it's just USB Type B and 12 volts. I mean, it's literally a hard drive within an enclosure. And well then, so this just fell off. Oh, this is so annoying. So annoying whenever you have problems like this. It just have to happen whilst you're recording the video. So annoying. But yeah. And then to remove this part, there's just a single screw at the top. Pull that out, and then you can lift up, and it literally just slides back into the case. This differs from my Pavilion A1000Y, where you have to pull the thing out of the case, and there's sharp edges that scrape the wires. But yeah. This here is the connector for the Firewire 800 port on the front of the machine. This comes from the S-video and component inputs and goes directly to the capture card. This is the front panel audio connector. And lastly, this is a USB 2.0 connector. And then I'm not going to bother taking out the motherboard since it's such a hassle. And there's really nothing interesting to see under there. And I'm pretty sure you all want to see this computer boot up and run, so I'll be back. Okay, YouTubers, I am back. Got the computer hooked up as well as my Dell Dimension 2400. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on the monitor. And you want to unlock that. Let's go ahead and apply power. And I forgot to hook up the CPU power connector to the Dell again. What a rookie mistake. Well then, just unplug it. There. I already have power to the monitor, so all I need to do is just there we go. And I need to change a setup option. Let's see, floppy diskette A not installed. Well, this is definitely, it is definitely not Saturday, May 27th, 2017 at 2 p.m. You know, this thing's been complaining about the diskette drive 0 seat failure. This thing has LXLE 1404 on it. 1404 LTS. It's actually a lot brighter on camera than it is on the monitor. And it is a pretty slow boot and login since it is only a SATA 1 hard drive. In fact, it still uses IDE translator logic on the controller board because there's a Molex power connector on it. There we go.